These changing economic times can bring out a tendency to go into fear. We may contract our energy, try to make ourselves smaller out of the thinking that if we need less, desire less, if there's not enough, we may have a greater chance of surviving. Tonight, I'm going to tell you a story that helps us respond in a healthier way. It's not a story I made up, but one from the Jewish tradition. Not a Bible story, but from the oral tradition that was then written down in a book called the Talmud. There are many wonderful stories in the Talmud, and several are about a very holy couple, Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa and his wife, who lived in the 1st century near the Sea of Galilee. They did many good works, and they were powerful at praying. Rabbi Chanina had a teacher, and when his teacher's child became deathly ill, when Rabbi Chanina was told of this and prayed for the boy, he had a miraculous recovery. There are other stories of such healings, and even of rain coming from his prayers. It is said that their life was a succession of miracles. Yet they themselves lived in dire poverty. They survived on a meager diet of carob pods. They didn't even have enough money for good food for the weekly holiday of rest and renewal, the Sabbath, in the Jewish tradition on Saturday called Shabbat. They didn't even have enough money for flour to make the special braided bread called challah. But they didn't want anyone to know because they had a neighbor who wished them ill. Sticks were free for the taking in the forest. So every Friday, Rabbi Chanina's wife would make a fire in her oven just like all the other women in the neighborhood. So if anyone saw the smoke going up, they would think that she too was making delicious food for her family for Shabbat. But that mean-spirited neighbor knew how poor they were. And she said, I know Rabbi Chanina and his wife don't have any food for Shabbat. I know that oven is empty. I'm going to go see. Now I ask, why would someone act this way? If there's a neighbor in need, why wouldn't they give them some food? Or at the very least, just be a compassionate presence? And we can't know what was in her mind, but I ask because I think if we could get to the root of someone's pain, understand why they do the hurtful things they do, we may be able to help heal that issue, and we could all live in more peace. And this neighbor, while she had more money, Rabbi Chanina and his wife had something far more valuable. They were loved and respected by their entire community. So I imagine this neighbor was jealous. So I see her fuming. She puts on her cloak and walks over to their house, raps in the door frame. And when Rabbi Chanina's wife comes to the door expecting a friend, but sees who it is, she covers her face in shame and runs into another room. Does this stop this mean neighbor? No. She just walks towards the oven, but then, can it be? She asks in bewilderment, is the entire room filled with the delightful aroma of baking bread. Get the bread paddle, she calls. The bread is going to burn. And Rabbi Chanina's wife steps from the room with the paddle, saying, I went into that room for just that purpose. And we're taught that she truly did go to get the bread paddle because she was accustomed to having miracles happen. How would you act if you were accustomed to having miracles happen? If you saw miracles happening all around you, think for a moment, perhaps of miracles that you've experienced, didn't even label them as such. What would be your equivalent then of going to to get that bread paddle. Even if you don't have any flour, what actions could you take and trust that the rest will be provided, preparing for miracles to happen? Thank you.